Welcome back. Welcome back. Oh my goodness. Ah, So I was making sure here just as I was talking, I want to make sure my mic's on. I have not done a video for astrology in a good while. And you probably thought, oh my gosh, she's not doing it anymore. I've been swamped and I've been also in a season of really better understanding my how my career life, how I really want it to be. What do I want to hold? What do I need to let go of? And if you listen to my podcast, Finding Your Voice After 40, some of you who look at this on Astral Self Care Sundays um, may also listen to the podcast. And I just announced this past week that I'm putting a pause on that podcast because I've been laying out what is it that I want to keep and what is it that I've got to just pause or let go of. And I still am needing to do my full review. I'm not all the way there yet with my full review. But one of the things that I do know for sure, is that I love astrology. And it's not one of the things that I want to put to the side. In fact, it's one of the things I want to continue to grow. I want to continue to spread. I want to continue to learn all of the things. And I actually missed doing these videos, but because I've been so swamped with other things, I had to put to the side. But I will say that astrology, when I really sit down and from even from like a just a, business point, I mean, it's clear people they want to learn about astrology. And I do astrology readings pretty frequently. So I would love to say I'm gonna be back every Sunday. I don't know. I don't know. If there's a way for me to record one video, if I could just batch record. So yeah, I might be just wearing the same thing for 4 weeks, because that means I batch recorded. Because it's just difficult to do something every week like that. But if I batch, sit down, commit an hour, 2 hours, I can do it. But anyway, we're back. At least this Sunday. And I have here, I want to begin, get back to the birth chart. That's what I love is the birth chart. I'm a birth chart girl. That's how I have really come to better understand astrology. And I think by really understanding your birth chart, it's super helpful just in every situation, whether we're in a Mercury retrograde, whether Jupiter's moving into Gemini like it is this Thursday, no, this Saturday, the 25th, or any other transits that are big that are happening, Kazimis and all that stuff. Yes, the general movement is important, but without knowing your birth chart, you won't know exactly how it will impact you. And so that's why I just love it. And so I still want to keep these to less than 30 minutes when I hop on here. And I should for sure be able to do that today. I don't even have notes today. Yeah, I'm winging it today. But I don't think I'm winging it. I just again, the more I do the astrology, the more comfortable, the more I feel able to stay on point with things. But I wanted to talk today to start some conversations around astrology and the houses. Okay. Now, those of you who have been totally into astrology, your chart forward and backward, you probably are already very, very familiar with the houses. Okay. So this may be just a confirmation for you, a review for you. I still think you should tune in though, because typically, because astrology is so layered, there's always something that you're like, really? I didn't know that. It's inevitable. It's inevitable. So stick around because I may mention something you weren't really aware of. Those of you who are like, come hither, what? What's a house? Welcome, welcome. And you're going to learn what a house means in astrology and in your birth chart. All right. So that's exciting. Those of you who just happen to bounce across this, page, this YouTube channel, you're like, what? Hi, welcome. Make sure you hit subscribe. Make sure you hit subscribe. Can you hit subscribe? I'm so close to 1,000. Like, my son has a YouTube he's like a full-fledged that's his whole career is YouTubing and social media influencer and so forth. He gets like 1,000 subscribers, like, a day or something stupid. I can't even get to my 1,000. Come on, y'all. We're at, I think, 972 or something like that. Come on. Just 28 more or 27 more. I can't remember what the number was at. Anyway, no pressure. If you've already subscribed, like the video. Like the video. Like the video. Don't be like, "Oh, well, I don't know. I want to hear the whole thing." Just like it. It's okay to push like it. This is the thing. When you like it just means it's a video that people it will send it more in the algorithm, y'all. Y'all hear all the people on here talk about that. Y'all know this. So if we want more people to see this, maybe you don't want more people to see it. But if you're like, no, we want more people to see it, then like it at a minimum if you're already subscribed. And of course, share it. Okay, of course, share it. So let's get into what are the houses. Well, I put here career, relationship, spiritual growth. All of that is in your birth chart. All of that is in astrology. And so, astrology, when you look at a birth chart, it's a circle. Okay. So, if you go to any astro.com, if you go to Channing Nicholas, she has a great, I love her birth chart. It's really clean, it's easy to read. So, if you go to chart.channingnicholas.com, I need to get a chart calculator embedded in my site so you could just go to me. I know I'm working, guys, working on it. Any rate, if you go to these places and you see the chart, you'll see that it looks like a circle and it looks kind of like a pizza or a pie because it's got these like it looks like slices, okay, or triangles, and it has numbered 1 through 12. 1, 2, 3, it can go, and it goes counterclockwise. Okay. Well, those slices are called houses in astrology. And all the houses are the different parts of our life. And so astrology, and this is how this becomes divine and special. Astrology says there are 12, that number 12, 12 very important parts of our lives that our soul has come here to navigate, to grow, to establish, to be about, to navigate, to get our lessons, to get our expansion, to get our hardship, to all the things. And so it's super critical to understand the houses because the houses, when I say that you have every sign in you, every zodiac sign is directed to or established with a house in your chart. Now, because everybody has different times they were born, different dates or what have you, the housing system, the order of your house is going to be different. But everyone who is a Cancer rising will all have the same housing order. Everyone who is a Sagittarius rising will have the same housing order. Everyone who is a Capricorn rising will have the same housing order. And so when you hear people do horoscopes, or when people are able to kind of tell you if you're a Cancer rising, this is what's going to happen to you during this Jupiter transit. And you're like, oh, what they're doing is that all people who are a Cancer rising are going to have Gemini in their 12th house because of the order of the signs. Gemini comes before Cancer. Cancer rising is always the first house. Second house for all Cancer risings is going to be Leo. So the moment I hear someone say, I'm a Taurus rising, I already know their house order. And you can too. Now, if you really want to learn this, you need to come on over to my Patreon because I now have a monthly astrology study and guidance group where I will teach these things to you in more depth. We don't have time on YouTube, okay? We don't have time, but I do in that community. So if you go to patreon.com/finding your voice and you join the $29.99 tier. There's 3 tiers. There's 19.99, 29.99, and then 49.99. The 19.99 does not, that's where I'm doing more health and wellness coaching and monthly meditation and journaling for them. And then they get some other incentives. Astrology is not a part of that tier. Astrology is part of the 29.99 or the 49.99. And I have 2 monthly workshops that happen for the 29 and then the 49. The difference between the 29.99 and the 49.99 is that the 29.99 has access to the groups and a brief check-in with me each month. But the 49.99, you get to actually do a full 50-minute session with me once a month if you would like to book that. It's optional. So that's the only difference with that. But we have an Astro Self-Care Sunday where I bring in another astrologer and we talk about how to take care of ourselves each month, depending on what the topic is of the month. And now I just added the Astro Study and Guidance group. And we just had a session and for the month of May, we studied exploring your soul's purpose. So we really went in depth about how to find that in your chart. So if you really want to have more handheld and more information, again, just go to patreon.com/finding your voice and join either the $29.99 tier or the $49.99 tier. Or you can, of course, get a reading with me. Okay. And in the description here, I have where you can click to come get a reading. But yeah, everyone who has a rising, whatever your rising is, you all will, if you are, like I said, Gemini rising, if you're Scorpio rising, then that you have to remember the order of the signs. And so if you go back to my videos, my playlist here, the Astro Self-Care Sunday, I talked about each sign in the order that the sign presents. So the first sign of the zodiac sign is Aries, then it's Taurus is number 2, the third is Gemini, the fourth is Cancer, the fifth is Leo, the sixth is Virgo, the seventh is Libra, the eighth is Scorpio, the ninth is Sagittarius, the 10th is Capricorn, the 11th is Aquarius, and the 12th is Pisces. And so some people who have Aries as their rising, they're going to have the actual natural order of the housing system because remember, Aries always starts everything in astrology. So that means also Aries rules the first house. And what is the first house you think? Well, what is Aries about? The I am, the identity, the me. I'm here. I'm born. I'm going to do this thing called human. First house. So I'm not going to go through and explain each house today because that's what I want our series to be. So the next video will talk all about the first house and then maybe I'll skip around because it's always never, people are like, oh, I got to wait all the way to the 12th house. No, it's okay. I'll do it in the order just because so that you don't get so confused. But what I wanted to talk about, the reason I put career, relationships, and spiritual growth, that's just 3 of the many, my phone just went off, of the many cycles or the many things that are discussed in the houses. Now, when we're talking about these 3, I do want to talk just briefly so I can give you a better idea of how these houses work. And so you can at least get some munch on a little bit. Okay. So for career in astrology, there is one house that is it's like labeled career, like it is the career house. Okay. That is the 10th house. Okay. But this is the thing. And this is what makes astrology interesting and compelling. While that is a very central part, there are other houses in the chart that also point in support of career and how your career will show up and what types of careers you may gravitate toward. Because again, there is not one singular thing. There's not one career. This is what drives me crazy. It's not one career that our soul really came here to do. It depends on the different cycles of life that it's in. Okay. But typically the 10th house, if someone is wanting to have more insight about career and what's going on with their career, or if you want to have a better idea of what's happening in terms of career for me, the 10th house is probably one of the main spaces you go. But there's some other houses, obviously, that add to career. There's other parts of ourself that add to how we will work, right? Or what kinds of careers we'll get into. And so for me, I'm also going to be looking at the 6th house, and I'm also going to be looking at the 2nd house. So the 2nd and the 6th and the 10th. So I already said the 10th is it's career and it's public life. So that's another reason why the 10th house is a big house for career. But I also look at the 2nd and the 6th. And the 2nd is our values, our belief, and how we make our assets. Our actual kind of figurative, our personal internal assets, our human kind of assets, our values, our beliefs, but also our actual money. Okay. And the signs and the planets attributed that tells a lot about how you will make your money and what way you will make your money and where your values and beliefs lie when it comes to um having stability and being resourceful. So obviously that's going to tie very much to career. Sixth house is and so the second house is naturally ruled by Taurus. So when we get there, I'll tell a lot more about the second house. The sixth house is naturally ruled by Virgo because Virgo is the sixth sign, which means it's also ruled by Mercury because Mercury rules Virgo. And so the sixth house is our work, like our day to day work, how we do our day to day lifestyle, how we are of service to others, and how we are of service to ourselves and to our livelihood. It's also our health house. Okay. So the sixth house it's called the work house, but it's more work as it could be job kind of work, but and it is very related to that. But it's also how are we of service when it comes to resources. Um, and then also our health and our kind of day-to-day health that we have to manage. Not so much our chronic disease health, although, certain things can transit through there where things will pop up, but it's more of kind of, those things, those nagging health things that, just come up and show up. Usually it's the sixth house that we can see a lot of those health conditions or those health situations, and they're usually fairly minor that you have to contend with. You just it is what it is, okay, because we all have it. So all of that can contribute to career. Wow. So you're probably like, well, go to your chart and look what sign and what planets are sitting in there, because and then that's where you want to come make a point with me or somebody to really help break that down. Okay. When I was talking about so relationships, same idea. The big relationship house. Think of the sign that rules kind of over relating to people, and that is Libra. And Libra is the seventh sign, and so it's the seventh house. Okay, so the seventh house is where I'm gonna first be putting my eye at when I'm looking at relationships. But this is the thing, y'all. Y'all know this. Relationships are complicated. Lots go into relationships. So one of the biggest part of relationship is you. So I'm definitely going to look at the first house. The first house, remember, is the I am, my identity, the I. I'm definitely going there as well because that's going to tell me a lot about how you are and then how that is going to exist in your seventh house of relationships. But also our 11th houses are groups and our friendships and social networks. And so that's another type of relationship, right? And then we have our family relationships. And that's a big one. And the family relationships, so the friendships networks, that's the 11th house. That's ruled by Aquarius. And then, which means it's ruled by Uranus and by Saturn. And then the fourth house is the family relationships. That's a big one. It's a huge one, huge one. So that's definitely one that I'm going to be really looking at as well. And there's more layers to that as well. Okay. And then I put on here spiritual growth. And listen, every house is a spiritual growth as far as I'm concerned. But the big house that is really there's two that I really look at. But one mainly, the big dog is the 12th house, because the 12th house is ruled by Pisces. It's the divine, it's the last, it's the house, it's the hidden, it's the unseen. Some people say, oh, that's the house of secrets or the house of, but I think it's also very much the spiritual house. And so I'll look a lot at that to see how the soul is kind of navigating, and what way does the soul tend to want to navigate and demonstrate spiritual growth. Also, the ninth house. And the ninth house is astrology and religion and philosophy and travel. And so there's a lot of things, a lot of times I can look at that to kind of get a better idea of how the soul is navigating with that. But again, honestly, I think the planets tell a lot more, even about kind of, and the aspects. But yeah. Okay. So I know this is kind of, it may feel like a lot, right? Because astrology is a lot. It's a lot. And that's why you have to be careful, like where you're learning the astrology, and be careful on just like sitting here on YouTube or just going on TikTok. You can get a lot of really good information. Okay. There, or at least good bites. Okay. But putting it all together and synthesizing it and really understanding how it relates to you, that's when you really have to be working with an actual astrologer or someone in astrology who's a professional, because there are so many layers to it. And you really want to be with someone to talk you through, who has studied it, so who can tell you all the different angles and who can sit with you with your chart. Because this is the thing, if you're just listening to it generally, oh, this means that, that means this, it, yeah, yeah, but depending on because your birth chart is your fingerprint. It's your fingerprint. So depending on your placements and how planets are in position of each other in your chart, you may have a completely different experience than what is being described or what you're looking at. You may have some relatability for sure, but it's your birth chart that really, really tells us the whole story much more clear. Okay. So I hope to come back. I would love to. I'm going to try, y'all. I'm going to try, because I like this and I've gotten great feedback about it. But to go through the houses. And so we will start with the first house and all the goods, all the rulership, what you should understand with the first house, how the first house, what squares the first house naturally, what trines the first house. When I say square and trine, those are called aspects, which I haven't covered. But basically, that's just saying whether something is more gifting or more challenging. Okay, that's what I'll just leave it there. But again, if you really want to learn more, I did an astrology foundations in astrology course. It was really fun. The course is now done. I'm not sure when I'm going to do it again. I would love to, if it's something you're interested in. I probably will roll out another interest list or waiting list, but not this summer. No, no, no. It won't be happening. No, no, no. But again, I do have those groups, okay? The Patreon groups, so that we can meet up and still study things and get to know things, all right? So, for your self-care, go to your chart. Go look at where your rising is. That's going to be your first house, always a rising sign. This is why we need to know the time of when you're born. That's the only way you can know an accurate rising sign. And that's why the time is so important, because the rising sign, it starts off the chart. It tells how the housing system will work. And the housing is critical because those are the parts of your life. So when you don't have the time, we can't determine an accurate rising, which means then I can tell you about your planet place, like what planet signs you have, but moon may be a little bit off because moon moves fast. And depending on the degrees, it could be in a different sign. And the rising is what's really setting up what house each of your signs are sitting in. So I could easily, planets don't move as fast, right? They're not. So, if you were born the month of, November, and it was November 1st, then, we know that's a Scorpio. That's definitely Scorpio. But if you were born November 22nd, depending on the year, that could be either a Sag or a Scorpio, depending on the degrees, and that means depending on the time. So that's why the time becomes really important. Okay. And just because your sun sign doesn't naturally just sit in the first house. It's just your rising. Some people do have their sun also in their first house. But like for instance, for me, my sun is in my fifth house. Okay. So when you're looking at your chart, don't expect that in the first house means, oh, I should also see my sun sign since that's my main sign. No, that's not how it goes. The only sign will be relegated to the first house when you have your time of birth is going to be your rising. And then there may be some other planets sitting in that, just depending on the position the planets were in at the time you were born. All right. So for your self-care, go look at your charts. If you want to dig deeper, look in the description. Feel free to book a session with me. We can sit down and just really review the different houses and what placements you have in your houses. If you want to do it more in community, then go to patreon.com/finding your voice and join either the $29.99 level or the $49.99. Now, my community on Patreon, I serve mostly those who identify as women. So if you are a male, those who identify as male watching this and you want to be in community as well, please email me at info@findingyourvoiceafter40.com so that you can at least get information on how you could join the group sessions, okay? The study groups. All right, that's it. Go enjoy your Sunday. We do the big thing that's happening, like I said, next Saturday is Jupiter has been in Taurus for the past year. It is leaving and going into Gemini because after Taurus is Gemini, and that's where Jupiter's going. And so wherever your Gemini is, you're going to get all the blessings of Jupiter. And so Jupiter is considered kind of that fortunate, beneficent, nice planet. But everything has a high frequency and a low frequency. And the high frequency of Jupiter is, yes, fortune, blessings, abundance, beautiful lessons, more. The low frequency is greed. And in Gemini, gossipy and lots of scattered energy. So in a low frequency, Jupiter will trigger the Gemini low frequency things. So flighty, all over the place, scattered kind of energy, nervous kind of energy, gossip type of energy, lots of quick little random facts that aren't adding up. That's more of a disempowered or a lower frequency of Gemini, but the high frequency of Gemini is very bright, good, strong, curious thinking, awesome communication and writing skills. And so Jupiter will, if we are feeding into ourselves, taking care of ourselves, listening to our inner voices, following the truth of who we are, then that will elevate the frequency so that Jupiter can work in your favor. But if we're ignoring those small voices, ignoring the things that we know we need to do for ourselves, not spending time really aligning ourselves appropriately, then we might get more in our lower frequency. And then that can turn into a very unhelpful, because Jupiter gives more. So it could be a lot more of unhelpful. So yeah, that's what's coming up. It's moving and it will be there a whole year. A whole year. Jupiter stays around for about a year. So you want to find out what house your Gemini is in. Okay. Because that's the part of your chart, that's the part of your life that Jupiter's going to be doing some things with. Okay. I know I didn't go over every house, but don't worry. Next, when I go through these series, I'll be sure to talk about what Jupiter may and what these different planets may be doing in these houses, especially the more significant placements happening right now. All right, we're at our 30 minutes. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you like the video. Make sure you share. Make sure you tune in. Email info@findingyourvoiceafter40.com if you'd like to get on our email list. And make sure you look at the description for booking a reading. All right, you guys take care. Bye.